Alright, hi guys. I'm going to jump right into our next section. First Chronicles, part 3. We're going to start out with our tribe of Simeon. Okay, and if we do need a little refresher, Simeon was one of the 12 sons of Jacob or Israel. Okay, we're also going to cover today Reuben, and we're going to talk a little about Levi as well. His lineage is actually recorded pretty meticulously. The others not so much, but Levi especially, like Judah, they were the line of priests. They were the line of priests, ones who can handle the holy things, the sacrifices, the temple work. They were the lines of priests. Still in Jewish faith, nobody outside of the tribe of Levi could serve as a priest of something of that nature, a religious figure and leader. So, going right into it, we're going to start out with this quote here by Auden. Okay, this is the night mail, crossing the border, bringing the cheque and the postal order. Letters for the rich, letters for the poor, the shop corner, the girl next door. The shop at the corner, the girl next door. Pulling up Beattock, a steady climb, the gradients against her, but she's on time. Past the cotton grass and moorland border, shoveling white steam over her shoulder. This is the night mail by Auden. Okay, so this is talking about a freight, right? A steam train delivering mail. It's a mail train. Tying this in, okay, I know we talked about this last time. If this quote seems familiar, it is because we have discussed it before. As mentioned, we are just taking our list of quotes that I had jotted down at a random moment, at a random time, and we're just repeating them. We're going through the cycle with each reading, with each section that we have. I'm just going to repeat them until we get utterly exhausted of them. I'll know the time. But each one seems to bring out a different representation and a different portion of what we'll be discussing, or maybe points that I would need to touch on and to discuss. So, of course, in these biblical times, we did not have the steam trains, but that is not to say that these civilizations that we're covering, even though they were so long ago, they were, in fact, civilized, okay? I know sometimes when we think of these biblical ancient times, we like to think of people, in a tent in the middle of the desert, completely remote and isolated from everything and everyone. That's how their faith was instilled. And although in transit, some tribes and some individuals did have to experience this remote desert life, many of these great tribes, especially descending from Jacob, they were already in established civilizations. By the time we get down to the next few generations, they're very, very established. They have the shop corner. They have the shop corner. They shop at the corner, right? They have the girl next door. They have their neighbors, friends, and family. People from other families, other tribes, also living in the same quarters, I should say, in the same town, in the same quarters as them, right? So they are full-fledged civilizations and communities, even stemming from just one line, like the Simeonites, like we'll read. We'll go into the next few brothers of Judah, of the tribe of Jacob. We'll go into all the brothers, and we'll begin to learn. Judah was the largest tribe. Simeon was up there as well. And then even the tribes after, it says their descendants or their fighting men, at one time, it got up to, almost 27,000 people. So again, that's a large size of individuals, a large size community, right? We can think of that as like the communities, our local communities. Really, a good amount of people if you're not in a totally, urban or super, super large suburban area. But, they're comparable in size. They're very large communities. So I know we'd like to think, isolation, remote, desert, that sort of thing. While these moorlands, right, these isolated areas existed, these were very established and large civilizations. They had a lot of features that we might not make use of today, but, a lot of those civilizations at that time were very advanced from what we could recollect, and they're not as primitive as we would like to think. Okay, So that's just a little point here. Then, of course, too, we have this steam train, which did not exist, but it's personified. And why it's personified is because the way people used to send letters and drop off information to the kings and what have you, it was on foot. Okay, it's personified because the way we used to do it was on foot. And if you're traveling over large distances, they've used a camel or donkey or something like that. But yeah, most of the time it was on foot. Which is amazing. The land that these individuals covered and the land that they had to travel, we learned. I mean, some people traveled for months on years to get to their final destination. So let's go ahead and just begin here with First Chronicles. We have the descendants of Simeon. We have Nemuel, Jamin, Jarib, Zerah, and Shaul. Okay, and then it says here, Shallum was Shaul's son, Misbam his son, and Mishma his son. The descendants of Mishma, Hammuel his son, Zakkur his son, Shimel his son. It says here Shimel had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children, so their entire clan did not become as numerous as the people of Judah. Okay, but I'm looking here, it only takes one, right? It really just takes one to have a few sons here. We go down from the line of Shaul. We see Shallum, Misbam, and then we have Hammuel's brothers, right? Or Mishma, I should say, Mishma's children, Hammuel and Zakkur and Shimei. Shimei, look at this. 16 sons and 6 daughters. I think we only listed the sons here. Okay. So, again, too, what is listed in First Chronicles is not going to be everybody and everyone. All right. These, of course, they all had children eventually, and they stretch, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. We have the leaders of the Simeonite clans. We can just see the names of the leaders, how they're not up here, right? They're not from descending of Simeon, right? We only traced so far and so much, but we do have the leaders, right, by different names, and they're recorded here. Okay, the leaders of the 500 Simeonites who invaded Seir, Pelita, Neriah, Raphael, Uziel, sons of Ishi. Oh, that came up fast. Okay, we're going to pause because I have to do my wash and my wudu in a second. So we're going to pause the prayer. Prayer. Okay, and we're just going to finish this off real quick. Oh, that came up so fast. The prayer time gets earlier and earlier every day, so that's why I'm unprepared. Okay, so let's just go on. Let's go through this fairly quickly. Try not to ramble too much. Let me go back to the page here. Okay. And Ziza, son of Shiphi, son of Allon, the son of Jedaiah, the son of Shimri, the son of Shemaiah. Then we go into Reuben, okay, firstborn of Israel. Their relatives and clans listed according to their genealogical records. During Saul's reign, they waged war against the Hagrites, who were defeated at their hands. They occupied the dwellings of the Hagrites throughout the entire region of East Gilead. And then we also have the Gadites. So let's go look at Reuben real quick. Reuben, which I am always spelling wrong. Reuben. Okay, so here we go. First son of Jacob, Reuben. We have his children. Carmi, we talked about him. Here are his sons. Again, not everyone, but just who is listed in First Chronicles. We have as much as we can fit. And then let's look at Gad as well. Gad. We have his sons, Joel, Shaphat. Okay, and it doesn't say, there's a little bit of a disconnect here. They just mentioned that these people here, Guni, Amideli, Achi, Buz, Shachado, they were Gadites, but it's not completely clear as to who they were related to as far as their fathers from Guni. So I'm not sure, but it just goes down from here. That is Gad, okay, from what we could record. Oh, let me go back here. And now we have the sons of Levi. Oh, and something too. All these were entered into the genealogical records during the reigns of Jotham, king of Judah, and Jeroboam, king of Israel. So we could see, the time frame too is when these individuals were recorded, right? The foundations of the first kings of Israel and Judah. So sometime after, which explains some of the miskeep, I guess, and record keeping. But now let's go into Levi. The sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Kohath: Amram, Izhar, Hebron, Uzziel. The children of Amram: Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. Okay, so we see now where Moses and Aaron are born, and that will also tell us a little bit about the time and the location, especially, of the Israelites during that generation. So let's go to Levi. We have here Levi, his 3 sons, and again I told you the tribe of Levi was meticulously recorded due to their stature of being the priests and the ones who dealt with holy things. So Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Alright, let's go down, let's try to find Moses. So we know he was a son of, what did it say, you guys? I'm trying to find, of Amram, okay, Kohath, excuse me. So Kohath had Amminadab and Amram. From Amram, we have Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. Okay, and then all of their descendants. So what does this tell us then about this generation here? This tells us that everybody in this generation, many of the Israelites from many different tribes, not just Levi, because as we know, Levi as a tribe was scattered about in different regions. You know, they had some Levites in this region with the Judeans, they had some some Levites in the other regions with the rest of the tribes, because they were supposed to serve at each holy place that each of the tribes held. But this does tell us during this generation, generation 27, as listed, these individuals were occupying Egypt. Okay, they were in Egypt and in Africa during this time. Okay, in Egypt, in Africa. So all of these individuals in this generation, we had a lot of descendants, okay, from these individuals ending up in Egypt, because we did have Moses soon, you know, moving everybody out of Egypt as a group. So that gives us some time here. We even have the insight that Moses' wife, Zipporah, she was actually ancient, she was a Cushite, right? So she was ancient, what am I trying to say? Why am I blanking on? Ethiopian. She was Ethiopian, ancient Ethiopian, which means that Ethiopians and Africans alike, a lot of countries in Africa come from Cush. And what does that tell us too? Of all the descendants after here, being that they were all in Egypt, right, at this time, being that a lot of them were in Egypt at this time, it tells us that they were dark-skinned, very, very dark-skinned individuals, black, if you will, okay? Umber is a beautiful word to describe a dark-skinned individual, okay? And this also tells us too, we trace this back, Zipporah was a Midianite. So let me see if I can search, right? Where's Midian? We read about Midian. Here we go. Look at that. Midian was the son of Abraham and Keturah. Okay, so what does that tell us about Keturah? She was African, right? She was black. Umber. She was African. Again, that makes sense because we have Cush right here. So many of the descendants of Ham, Cush, everybody over here, right? All African. It says Eurasia too. And what is Eurasia? Like, we're Caucasian, all right? Being white is a very modern development, I would say. Very modern development. So Eurasian basically means like Europe, Asia. That's kind of where we could come from too. Caucasian, Eurasian, that type of thing. But it's very modern. Many of the people were very dark-skinned at this time. And that's not to throw shade or tea at any of our modern Christians or Jewish people. We do see our Jewish people today have curly hair. Where do you think that comes from? You know, we are all coming from the same place. That's what this is trying to encompass. Africans, Asians, and then eventually, over time, we have the white people that came through just after pure migration to different regions of the world, northern regions, right? But everybody started out very, very dark skinned. I thought this was hilarious too. Let me show you. But this again, Abraham, right, descending from. This also shows you the elderness, the oldness of these people of Cush, right? We have a lot of black people coming from Abraham and Keturah, but of course right from Noah, the ancient civilizations of Ethiopia come from Cush, okay? So yes, we have our dark-skinned family. They are all scattered throughout. People, married with everybody else, and eventually we got a little bit lighter to look like a modern Arabic, right? So, but yeah, this is the beginning. This is the very beginning. I was going to show you something funny. So I look up Zipporah, knowing that Moses' wife was black, because he caught a lot of flack for her being so dark, but she was actually the daughter of these Midian kings and queens. Okay, so she was very high status as well, as was Moses. He was a king of Egypt, or a prince of Egypt at the time. If we look up Zipporah, just randomly, that's what I did. Look, this is the first picture that comes up. Just like like a Jewish woman, this is like more so how she actually looked, right? Keturah the same, very dark skinned. Anyways, but this is, where did this picture come from of Zipporah? This is why we have to be careful looking at, different films and sources. But this comes from, Jewish Women's Archive has the picture correct. There we go. Jewish Women's Archive, and then we have two. This one comes from jw.org, jehovahswitness.org. Okay, so no tea, no shade to them either, but we can tell, like, okay, yes, we were dark, we were all black at one point. Okay, we come from very, very strong lineages. Okay. But yeah, that's just a little interesting, I'm sure stuff that you guys already know. I'm not trying to drop so much knowledge on you that you are unfamiliar with, but if you're not, I hope it helps. But that's it. Let me go pray. Let me continue on with my work today. I appreciate you guys listening and sharing the knowledge with me and learning with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.